Can you confirm if you are seeing my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, brilliant.
Yes, sir.
Can you confirm if you are seeing my screen? Once again, I want to welcome us all to today's edition of the Investors Communities, talking about stocks and shares. And this is our week 5. So in this today's edition, we will be talking on the topic investing in global energy and telecommunication sector. The reason why this topic is coming into place is because by next week, we will be having an expert who is um, going to put us through, in some areas that relates to telecommunications and energy. And at the same time, we looked at the present situation in the global economy, whereby we are presently in the in the United Kingdom, we are in winter, likewise in Canada, United States of America, and many other places. So what this implies is that we we are in a very cold weather, and this period, most homes needs to heat up their houses and so that they can keep warm. So because of this, the cost of energy is increasing, and relatively the demand for energy is also increasing. So I felt it's important we as investor we strategize to see what advantage we can take from this sector. So this is going to be a very short presentation because I would also try to see if we can go into the trading 212 to possibly see what is happening in the global energy and telecommunication sector. So But if you at any point in time have any question as I proceed, please take note of your questions so that I can take them once and for all during the. But if you know it's something that cannot wait, so that I will not just keep talking, then you can try to just pause me and then quickly call my attention to things that you think I needed to know. So, once again, welcome to week 5. We are talking about global energy and telecommunication. In order to get our understanding of some of these sector, some of the terminologies that I will be saying, I will be using in this class, I may be asking for some feedback, but I would relatively not also make it take so long so that the class will not be extended beyond normal. So let's go straight into action. Telecommunication, global energy. So what is energy? Energy basically, as we all know, is it has to do with power. So as you can see in this screen, you see the moment you see this icon, what comes to our mind is what? The icon by the left-hand side. What comes to our mind? The moment you see that icon, I just want to see how much we are used to some of those things that we will be saying today. So you can unmute and just tell us, just say your mind. What comes to the mind? What comes to your mind when you see something like this? Miss Funke, in case you are talking, you are muted. So what comes to our mind if we see something like this on on the screen, this
Like
image
Max for broadcasting, Abby. Max, if
for
I'm not mistaken.
broadcasting? Okay, okay, that's
It's the
good.
max that cover range where the communication can reach. Max.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
that's fine. So you are very correct. And then what other thing uses something like this that doesn't have mast on it but has something else? Maybe electricity. So because I said I won't be wasting much of our time. So anything relating to telecommunication and electricity, they are related to power. Telecommunication related to, they also work with power. So energy and telecommunication are two inseparable um, sector that anyone investing into this sector should be strategic about it, because if you don't take those decisions as an informed decision, you may relatively be losing money in one way or the other. So what we'll be doing today in today's session is that we will be looking at what should you look into before you make any decision as regards global energy and telecommunication. Now, energy has to do with two areas. We have per energy, we have, sorry, as per energy, we have renewable energy, which has to do with solar, wind, and the likes. And we also have the non-renewable energy, which is the oil and gas. So the oil and gas are the conventional one that we are all used to. But in this present state, especially with the climate action, while a lot of countries are switching from the conventional source of energy into renewable source of energy, there is a need for investors in these sectors to also be careful with how the choice of stocks that we pick. Because if we eventually pick a stock that is on a downtone as a result of, take for example, some countries like the United States, United Kingdom, and even China, they had a vision 2030 to increase the usage of electric vehicle in the country. So the moment that they are trying to increase electric vehicle, what that implies is that oil and gas will be having a little bit downturn, but it's not going to be totally eradicated. They are not trying to kill that sector, but they are just trying to encourage a clean environment. So while this is happening, some other people will also suffer for it. So it is now very much important for a smart businesses, organizations, companies, and even investor to quickly diversify. And that is what one of the things that the UK government did, incentivizing the production of EV batteries, EV vehicles, and anything related to renewable energies. So these are basic introductions that I just want us to know. So today's class will be covering these six core areas, and then we'll have a question and answer session if we have any. And the core things that will, like I said, we will be looking at is setting the stage for global investment opportunity in the energy and telecommunication sector. Then I will do a quick overview of the global energy sector, and we would also do the telecom sector investment insight. From there, we'll go into the key market drivers. Then we look at some top global stocks to watch. Then I would try and analyze some of the risk involved in this type of investment sector. And from there, we go to question and answer. So now introduction, which has to do with the energy and telecom. I've done a little bit of this, but I will just recap it again for some of us that are just joining us, if you are joining us on YouTube or other channel. And what are we saying is that the energy sector, the global energy and telecommunication sector, it represents a fundamental pillar of modern economic infrastructures, and then this covers oil, gas, electricity, and our normal telecommunication. And telecommunication also has a bigger subsectors. And under telecommunication, we have the mobile, we have the satellite, and we also have the broadband. So all of these combined together forms the telecommunication sector. So for today, I would want to see you as an investor who is trying to look at how can I invest in the energy and telecommunication sector? What should I look out for? And let me quickly give us a good example of what I'm trying to say. Most of us here, as we can't join this call if we don't have a mobile network data. Either we have an internet access through our mobile carrier, MTN, Glo, Vodafone for us, for those in the UK, Vodafone 3, EE, BT, and the likes. We can't connect to this call. So we have the internet access, we have our devices. So our devices are standing alone without the internet. So the truth about it is, in this new world, no one can operate without internet, because I don't know how we feel when in one day we can't access any of our social media platform, or we can't do the least of it, which is WhatsApp, that they just said, get a break from all your phone for a whole day. We know how it's going to look like. So if this is happening, then let's look at the population of those that are connected to the internet. So the population of those that are connected to the internet tells us a great opportunities that about in the telecom and the energy. Look at the number of vehicles on our roads globally. So some of these vehicles has to run on three things. Is either they run on petrol, or they run on diesel, or they run on electricity. So whichever method of power that they uses is still going to coming back to the energy sector. So if you are running on fuel, that is oil and gas. If you are running on diesel, that is also oil and gas. If you are running on EV, then you need electricity. So the electricity also has to be generated from a source, which is a source of power. So it could be wind generated, water generated, or hydro. Okay, hydro is water, or sun. So all of these is a great insight to us that we need to start thinking towards having an investment in the energy and telecommunication sector. Now I will digress a bit before I talk about the advantages of investing in the energy and telecommunication sector. And what am I digressing to? Like I said to us initially, I said all of these classes that we are having in this series is actually not for stock and shares investment alone. Like I told us, I said we are already filtering the participants and we are identifying potential participants that are investment ready that we at FinREMIT UK will be investing into either in form of shares or otherwise or equity. Now, if you are thinking of starting a business, then you could begin to think of, okay, can I harvest investment ideas from this session? So don't just look at it from the perspective of, yes, I can invest into shares of energy and telecommunication companies because they have told us that it is a viable source of investment. But you can also begin to look at it from the perspective of saying, okay, how can I even start a business around this? So for some of us that are thinking of, okay, can I start a business around this? Then this session could be like an idea generation session for you. So when I said idea generation session, it means you could begin to say like, okay, so there are potentials in the energy and telecommunication sector. Yes, you may not be able to be very strong to compete with the like of Glo, MTN, and EE or Vodafone in the global community, in the global space, but you can complete them. Like I used to tell people that you don't need to compete with people sometimes if you are not financially strong or you are not, you don't have that strong skills to compete with them, but you can complete them because that's another strong way to enter into a market. What do I mean by completing? You identify the gap that these people are unable to fill. So when you identify the gaps that they are unable to fill, then you can now fill that gap by completing them rather than competing with them. So is any one of you thinking around, okay, can I start a business around energy and telecommunication? Then what can I do? So if you feel like you want to have a one-to-one session or you have friends, families that are thinking around that, then we can have a session to brainstorm with you. Take, for example, you want to go into telecommunication, you don't need to start erecting masts. You don't need to start looking for power line to run power from one end to another end. It could just be developing a tech solution that would enable existing providers, so that alone, you are running a tech, you are running your home business, which is solving energy sector problems in the energy or telecommunication sector. So think around it, then we can continue the discussion later. So what are the advantage of investing in the energy and telecommunication sector? So if I'm talking to you as a fellow investor and we are all looking at investing into this sector, these are the advantages that we stand to gain. So any fund you put into a company in this sector has a kind of a relatively stable cash flow generation. And what do I mean by stable cash flow generation? Like I explained to us earlier during my introduction, I said when you are investing into the energy and telecommunication sector, there is that opportunity that large number of people are in this space. That is users. If you don't use electricity for anything, you use it at least to charge your phone. That is, if you are even saying, I don't have television, I don't have fridge, I'm a this, I'm that. You don't want to use electricity for anything. The moment you have a mobile phone, then you would need an electricity. And we are talking about AI, AI, AI. The next thing that we are discussing now is powering AI. Because a lot of people are just saying AI, 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 but they don't know that AI is also consuming a lot of energy, and the discussion around that is not coming up yet. Yes, in the UK, I attended a conference and we're talking about it extensively. But the level at which we are consuming AI now, compared with the level at which the power powering it is growing, there is a possibility of a shutdown if we are not careful, because the population of the users of AI technologies are increasing drastically. So what am I trying to say in essence is the energy sector, the telecommunication sector cannot die. It's a sector that cannot die. Can you operate your AI solution without an internet? So these are all the potentials that the cash flow coming into energy and telecommunications are vast. And I'm calling you all to come and start thinking around investing or starting a business in this sector. Why am I putting these two into place? If you invest into an existing company that has shares, this is not an investment advice. It is just a sensitization. So don't take everything that I've said as a go for investment advice. It is rather a suggestive and financial education just to keep us informed, but we also have that opportunity to go and make our individual research on everything that I have said before you make your decision to invest in the energy sector. The second advantage is regular dividend payment. Some weeks ago, I got a lot of notifications about dividends. Despite that the market is falling, there are a lot of opportunities that as an investor, if you invest in shares, if you invest in stock, the drop of market, that is, if the stock market is falling and you can see that yes, the market valuation is falling, that does not really mean that the company is making loss. And I've explained to us severally that there are several reasons why market value of shares drops. In our previous classes, I've explained that extensively. But for some of us that did not join or didn't attend those classes, you could remember that I said we have the fundamental and we have the technical. So the fundamental is the news that is happening about the company or the sector, while the technical is how the market moves, demand and supply, bearish or bullish. So irrespective of the market capitalization or market valuation, I want to tell us that it is always very rare for for companies to even if their shares is dropping, there is every possibility that the company is still making profit, because profit is being generated from operational activities, while share capital is by market activities. That's the stock market activities. So you still continue to get dividends. So I was getting dividends despite the fact that the market may be downturning or otherwise. Then the next is global market exposure. You see, when you invest in energy and telecommunication, you are connected to the whole globe, because you can now see that, I don't know, for some of us who travels a lot, when you get to a particular country, they will say, "Welcome to the United Kingdom." On your Glow line or your MTN line, they will welcome you to United Kingdom and they will say you are now roaming with the EE network. EE network is some of the network in the UK. We have EE, Vodafone, Tree, and the likes. So they will tell you you are now operating with the EE network or Vodafone network. The only difference is that you may be charged more than the normal when you are in Nigeria or wherever country you are coming from. So telecommunication now is global. You can roam. That means even when you are not in Nigeria, you will still keep paying to Glo. The only difference is that you may pay more. So it is a market that, irrespective of where you are, where you live, and your location, the investors in this sector will continue to cash in, day out. Then essential service demand. That, like I said earlier, it is an essential resources that everyone needs. Then portfolio diversification. When you invest in the shares of energy company and telecommunication company, is a sign of diversification. And what do I mean by diversification? When you invest in the shares of, like we discussed earlier, we've talked about real estate investment, we've talked about ETF and the likes. So if you want to diversify your stock from the normal investment, like you remember in our week 1 class, we talked about investment in the construction sector, where we're investing in Dangote Cement, we invested in Lafarge Cement, and we also invested in some bank. That's the financial sector. We invested in Access Bank. We invested in so many um, other stocks. Sorry, some of our followers on Instagram said they can't hear us. Okay, sorry. Okay, can you confirm if you can hear us now, Instagram? So that is another advantage of you investing into the energy sector. So now let me move on. Now, so let's pick it one after the other. That is the energy sector. So I've talked about oil and gas, and I said it that the oil and gas, the leader, the core people in the oil and gas that are moving and shaking that industry are ExxonMobil, Shell, Chevron, and lots of other ones. So, like I said, we are not going to be giving financial advice as to you go and buy ExxonMobil shares or Shell shares or Chevron shares, but we can only tell you how these stocks are performing. So there are other oil and gas companies, and there are some level of interconnections within these players that even when you are buying oil from Shell, Shell may be the carrier and supplying to some other company. But this is in the global realm. So for some of us that are using Bamboo, that are using Trading 212 and the likes, you may begin to look for the performance of Exxon, Mobil, Shell, and Chevron. And that is, I picked these three as an example because we're going to check into their stock today and see how they perform. So for some of us watching me on Instagram, at the end of the class, you can go and check our YouTube channel to see the video of this presentation. So you can see the presentation and see the screen later. Now, the next thing is emerging renewable leader. So, like I told us earlier, there are companies now that are shaking the renewable energy sector. And in the global realm, we have Next Era Energy and Osted. These two guys are also playing a very strong role in the future of power generation. So, like, for example, Next Era is the world's largest producer of wind and solar energy. So I'm just sensitizing us to know some of these people because we can't continue to say we are either in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Togo, or even in the UK, and we just wanted to restrict ourselves to that industry that we like or that we are used to. Some of us are used to the financial sector and we want to say like, oh, I just want to be in that direction. Some of us are used to the construction sector. Some of us are used to the healthcare sector, manufacturing sector, beauty and care, and the likes. But this session is just to let you know that some other things are happening in other areas. in other sector. And the reason why we brought this initiative into play was that we want you to begin to use your money to achieve a lot of opportunities. While you are running your normal distribution company, you can also have a shares in companies that you can't start. Take, for example, you are distributing Jimpori now, and you felt like, okay, can I also have, aside from the profit I'm making for selling the product, can I also be paying, buying, investing into the company, assuming Amugold is listed on the stock exchange market? So you can buy Amugold shares and you begin to get a share of our profit aside from the profit you get for selling our product. That's just a simple way it is. So for some of these industries, it's not easy for me to go and start a wind and solar energy company. It may not be very easy. Recently, myself and my team, my innovative team, we're coming up with an innovation around electric vehicle for the United Kingdom. And while we're developing these solutions, one thing that came to my mind was that because we're actually looking into some opportunities. So, and I told the team, I said, obviously, it's likely not possible for us to raise the fund to start this business. But if we can't start this business at this level, then what level can we come into? So there are opportunities. I will not be able to say much about that here now, but there are a lot of opportunity in the renewable energy sector. But if we can't start it now, then let's key into those ones that are leading the industry, like Next Era, Ostead, and lots more like that. Then Ostead, like we said, has transformed from fossil fuel to become global offshore wind leader. Remember that I mentioned this to us before, that that attention is likely going to be switching from fossil fuel into renewable energy. So Ostead has taken a very swift move by quickly looking into wind energy. A lot of people are already looking into solar energy. Solar energy is very popular now, but there are some other countries or other places where they had a large number of wind. Take, for example, solar energy is not really doing the level of solar harvest in countries like UK, US, and Canada is not as much as the energy solar harvest that we get in countries like Nigeria and the likes. So the global south, sometimes some of the countries in the global south, they had enough sun than some country in the global north. And then some country in the desert and the likes, they also have a lot of wind that is an advantage to them that can be used. Like take, for example, there was a wind that happened in the UK sometimes ago that is even moving vehicles, for you to see how strong that was. So we had it about two years consecutively that happened like that. In fact, one of them was given a name. I can't remember the name. So what this is saying is that while some part of the world has more sun, that's solar, some other part of the world has more wind. So it is now having to do with innovations. So Ostel has actually keyed into the niche by going for the wind energy side, and they are becoming a leader in that sector. So we'll also look into their shares after now. I will share my screen. Maybe after this slide, I will share my screen before I go to another slide so that we can check the shares of let me write it down, Next Era and Orsted. And we would also check the shares of Exxon Mobil. And what are we looking for in the shares of these two companies? We want to see how their shares is moving. So we want to see the trend. Is it a downtrending? Is it an uptrending? And you remember I told you sometimes that if a share is downtrending or uptrending, you should not panic. It is a signal that you can make money from both sides. So don't panic when we go there and we see that, oh, it is downtrending, but it's at the floor. We can quickly buy, because when we buy at that time, it may likely start rising. But if there are not fundamental news or fundamental analysis that is causing that downfall, then we can quickly buy when a share is at the floor. So by the time it start rising, then you can also look at the maximum trend. That's the lifetime trend of that share. So the lifetime trend of that share will tell us that, oh, for the last 20 years or 50 years, this shares has always been on a uptrending. So with that, we would have some level of confidence that no matter what, this thing will come back again. Now, what is the investment advantages that we have? So energy sector investment provide portfolio stability through consistent cash generation and attractive dividend yield, often ranging from 3 to 6 annually. So the sector's cyclical nature creates buying opportunity during downturn, while the ongoing energy transition presents growth potential. So this I've explained earlier that there is a lot of transitioning now happening from the fossil fuel energy generated into the um, into the renewable energy space. And I think we can all key into this quickly. Okay, maybe I should do that of telecommunications too. Then I can now go and share my trading 212 app for us to quickly see. So now the telecommunication sector, we all knew what happened during the era of 5G. And I don't know if some of us are using 5G. Can someone confirm to me if 5G is working perfectly in Nigeria now? As in, have you ever seen your phone showing 5G? I know we started from 3G to 4G, but do you know if phones are
Yes,
now carrying
5G is
5G?
working. Yes, 5G is working, but they are now selling Wi-Fi now. Sorry, the
That is
modem
5G.
are 4 and 5G now. And
Brilliant.
also we have 5G enabled, but the coverage is still limited anyway.
Yeah, not every area has the 5G network. Thank you very much. Okay, so that's a very good one. And what am I trying to say here is that you could remember the propaganda that happened then when they said 5G is going to be killing people, 5G is this, 5G is that. You see, the truth about it is technology is growing and it will continue to grow. In the last 10 years, nobody knew that something is going to happen that will be called AI. Then we are aware of emotional intelligence, human intelligence, but then we also had a little bit about artificial intelligence because I remember myself and some people have been talking about artificial intelligence for a while, but we don't know that this is how it's going to come with the advent of open AI and the likes. But today, it is something else. So, and a lot of people are still feeling like AI is not good, AI is not safe, AI is not ideal, is not encouraging human intelligence and the likes. Yes, it may be killing human intelligence, but it needs human intelligence to work well. So it depends on how good you are with prompting. It depends on how good you are with interacting with AI for you to be able to get the best from AI. So if you are not, sorry, I think I'm going forward. Okay. So now let me just leave that and go back to this where we are. So 5G is now expanding, and a lot of organizations, a lot of telecommunication companies are investing big into this because the faster the better. I can remember sometimes when I was in Lagos and I was using, is it 4G MTN, and I wasn't still feeling that kind of speed that I get on the same phone that I use in the UK that is 5G. So what this is telling us is that investment is going into telecommunication expansion, and 5G network, other digital infrastructure is what is coming now. Now we are talking about Starlinks. Look at how Starlinks came in to change the narrative using satellite. So, and I'm aware, I was discussing with some of my team, and I said, is satellite mobile working now in Nigeria, like connecting from satellite straight to your mobile network? And they said they are not sure yet, because I was telling them this, I was getting to know that the consumption of data now in Nigeria is running like water. That if you load 3G now, the next 2 days is off. So, and they said it's not even fast. Not to that, if you load three gig data. So, and I was asking that, is it possible that we have mobile that is connected straight to satellite, like I think Starlink is trying to launch that in some African countries. And at the same time, I was in a conference at Cranfield University in the United Kingdom here, and the man is trying to establish a global customer service center that can service companies in the UK and some Asian country, because most of the customer service centers that are operating in the UK are running in India and some other Asian country. So this man wants to also explore Nigeria as a potential investment opportunity for him. And I asked, he said he was in Lagos, he has been to Port Harcourt, Abuja, and all of the analysis. The next question that I asked is, did you later invest? He said no. And I said, why? He said the internet is what discouraged them. And I said, why not explore Starlink? He said they still did not get what they needed from these, what the speed that they tested that their server needed to serve their companies, because they are serving banks globally, big banks, so they can't afford any downtime. So they said, and I asked that they should explore Starlinks, but they said no, that it is still not as good as they expected. So what am I saying in essence? Telecommunication is still underinvested into. Expanding the 5G network is still at a minimum. I don't think we have 50% coverage in Nigeria now for 5G. So what this implies is that there is a potential in the telecommunication, both the broadband and also the mobile. Then the telecommunication sector is also providing a very strong cash flow and dividend history. If you go and check, telecommunication is even providing some higher level of yield than energy, because no matter what, like take for example a household in the United Kingdom, an household in the United Kingdom, or should I use Nigeria? Because I know Nigeria doesn't run that billing system like the UK, US, and Canada, like and other developed countries. But a particular household will need to run, if you decided to put off all your lights, like all the electricity lights, your bulb, you put them off. You decided to also put off all your gas, and you said, oh, I'm not going to cook today, which means you are going to reduce your energy cost. You are going to reduce your electricity cost, your gas cost. But is it possible for you to say that you don't want to call today, you don't want to receive call, you don't want to make call, you don't want to send message? It's possible maybe you want to just have it like, okay, I don't, but at a point you would get to discover that no, this is something else. You can't compare it with just switching off, putting all the house into a bit of darkness, or even during the day you can open your window. But if you refuse to call people out, people will call you in, except you put off your phone. So what this message is sending to us is that as we begin to explore investments into energy and telecommunication, telecommunication is actually very broad. There is a company now in the UK which is called Utility Warehouse. This company is raking in serious money, and they had agents nationwide, which they are also, some of them are earning as much as £7,000 per month just as agent of these companies. Like I said, by our next presentation, I will see if I can bring more opportunity to us in this area for some of us that are in the UK especially, and for some of us that are in Nigeria. There are a lot of other companies like that that you can also look out for. So if you can't, you can buy their shares, because I am aware that Utility Warehouse, which is Telecom Plus, I think the owner of Utility Warehouse is Telecom Plus. I think they recorded over 700 to 800 million pounds revenue in maybe 2 quarters or thereabout. I'm still going to check their reports. But what this is telling us is that even the new entrants, those that are just entering into the telecommunication sector are raking in a lot of money. So then there are long-term growth potentials in the telecommunication sector. You can look at how Glo has been, look at MTN. Look at MTN, how long they've been in this industry, and how they are still growing, waxing stronger despite the existence of Glo, Etisalat, Visaphone, or what is that other one? So despite their existence, despite their existence, all of them are still waxing stronger. So now, what are the leaders that we need to look out for in this sector? AT&T. These ones are in the US, and they run a fiber network. Then we have the Verizon. The Verizon is also in the US. We have the likes of Vodafone, BT, EE, Telecom Plus in the UK, and all of these guys are very, very strong. So you can also take advantage of these guys in the stock market and see how they are performing. But like I said earlier, I will continue to say this because of regulatory guidelines that we are not providing financial advice here. We are only sensitizing us to know what is happening in this sector. But when you want to make your decision, please make a decision that is informed. So let me quickly stop my screen here, and then I will be going to the market so that we can just check one or two of these sector that we have explained now and see how they are performing. So let's quickly go and see their shares in the market. So I will be using Trading 212, but I will love if any one of us can also open our Bamboo or iVest or any other investment platform we are using in Nigeria to see some of these options, or maybe I will do the two, but I just don't want to waste much time today so that I can allow us to go back to get set for tomorrow. So now let me quickly open my Trading 212. So here is my Trading 212. Yes, we have done a lot with tech. We have done tech. We have done real estate. We have done Vanguard, S&P 500. For some of you that are just joining us or that are joining on Instagram and the likes, if you are unable to join our previous classes, you can go to FinRemit on YouTube and watch the videos. And if you need any question, you can download the FinRemit app. When you download the FinRemit app, then you can book a one-to-one session. And the good thing is it is free for the first time when you download the app. Then subsequently you have to pay. Then for some of us that are using Android, iPhone, iOS, you can use the mobile app, which you can just see on the Instagram and on our Instagram bio link. Now, let's quickly see what is happening here. Can you see my screen, please? I'm sharing the ExxonMobil stock. Can we see my screen? So this is the ExxonMobil stock. And as you can see, this is a very steady growth. This is one day, just in one day alone, it started from $114, 114. This stock is listed in the New York Stock Exchange. Yeah. So it's listed in the New York Stock Exchange, and it started with $114.68. That's on the 28th of November. And it closes in the market with, in fact, there was a surge of up to 116. So it surged up to 116, but it eventually closes at 115. So what this is saying is that only in one day, look at the wave in the ExxonMobil, look at their 5 days performance, and let's go and look at their 5 years. So in 5 years, look at how ExxonMobil has been performing. So in 5 years, the stock is growing amazingly well. And we all know what ExxonMobil is all about. And like I said, some of these industry, especially some of these energy companies that are operating fossil fuel-based energy, they are already diversifying as well, so that they will not be backward in the renewable energy space. So most of these guys are also playing a very big role. Even some of them are working around EV now, which is electric vehicle. So this is a good one that we can see. Then we can also let's look out for Next Era. Next Era is a renewable energy company. Is also a US base and is one of the leader in this is Next Era Energy. So you look at ExxonMobil, when we check ExxonMobil the other time, their stock is around 115 pounds, no, sorry, $115 per share. And we can now see Next Era Energy is just around $86 per share. And if you look at it critically, Next Era grew by 4.15% in just last week. So in just 1 week, their growth was 4.15%. So look at their chart. Let me expand this for you. So like I said, for those watching us on the Instagram, you can later go and check our Facebook to see. You can later go and check our YouTube to see the charts that I'm displaying. Can someone confirm to me on the Zoom that the chart is actually displaying? Because I have not gotten that confirmation. Mr. Tai, is the chart showing?
Yes, it is, sir.
Thank you so much. So yeah, that's that. So you can see the trend. This is 1 day trend. This is 1 week trend for Next Era. I've already told us what Next Era does. Next Era is one of the strong investors in the wind energy, and they are doing amazing well in that industry. So you can see, let's now see their 5 years growth pattern. Yeah, their 5 years growth pattern is actually in a wave, but it's showing a kind of 0.88. So in the last 5 years, their growth was not very strong, but in 1 year, they begin to have a strong growth. In 3 months, it was a very, very interesting growth. And in 5 days, look at what we are seeing. In case you don't understand this red and if you don't understand these red and green bars, is the bullish and the bearish bar. But what I would do is I can change it to, we can remove it from the bar and we can change it to the trend format. But I think it's just for you to see how the market is waving. So most times. Then, yeah, the next one, okay, this is the line one. Yeah, I think this will be clearer for you. You have a good understanding of how this one works. So this is the line graph. So it shows how they are going up, coming down, going up, coming down. But today, in the last 5 days, they started as low as $84 and now they are $86. So this is an opportunity for us to study this critically. And we all remember in our first week, second week class that we said it's that we mentioned that your investment does not need to be big money. You don't need $100, $500 to start with 55, 10, $15. You can start to test all of these things. But by the time you grow to a level, you will begin to see that it's something that is interesting and is worth expanding on. So you can begin to add to your investment day by day, and you'll see what is happening there. So let's quickly look at telecommunication. Telecommunication, let's see if I have BT. Yeah, let's go for BT. So look at BT. Do we have ETF for BT? Oh, no, stop. So BT is British Technology Telecommunication. That is, they are in charge of, they are just like Glo MTN in other countries in Africa as well. So this is their shares, and look at their growth pattern. So this is their 1 day, just 1 day. Yes, this actually started very low. It started, no, not very low. It started at medium, 180. point, and then it now closes at 180.95. But let's look at their 5 years growth. Yeah, their 5 years growth is also a wave. So which implies that there are some fundamental analysis around British technology. So, and that's the reason why telecommunication, and that's the reason why I said we all need to also do our individual analysis to be sure that it's worth investing into. So now when we see BT, then let's now go and compare it with telecom. Oh, sorry, I don't want to close BT. I'll come back to it. Let me open BT again. And then I will now open, let's see if I can get Telecom Plus. Those are the one in charge of UW. Telecom Plus. So this is Telecom Plus. Yeah, so Telecom Plus is having a nosediving. So they are nosediving in the last 1 day. They started with 1598 point and now at 1582. But this is a floor. If we look at it now, they are in 1 day, they are in their floor. So by the time the market is opening tomorrow, there is a possibility that if it doesn't break downward, then it keeps going upward. So let's all just try to interact with the app and see opportunities that we can invest in the telecommunication and energy sector. So that's a quick demo of what I have here for us. I may not be able to demonstrate the bamboo now because I'm using the bamboo phone for Instagram, but I'll go back to my presentation. Then on your bamboo, you can just search for these that I've also shown us. If you want to see the name, you can check on YouTube or you take a screenshot of this slide. So now what are the things that is driving the market basically? Okay, now let's quickly come down to our levels because I know some of us may be feeling I'm using a lot of technological term or jargons. So now what are the key market drivers? Number one, population growth and rising energy demand. Like I told us earlier, the global population is now projected to be 9.7 billion by 2050. And I know it is likely going to get to that level. So with 9.7 billion by 2050, and then with most growth concentrated in emerging markets like Africa, because and that is the reason why I said this class that we are having is really not just to invest in the stock of existing companies, but for you to also see ideas, then see what is the market trend and see how you can take advantage of the market trend to start something around some of these sectors that we are opening our eyes into. So this demographic expansion drives increasing energy consumption because if the population eventually grows to 9.7 billion, that implies that the consumption rate will be so massive. But it is not only that, it's also going to be driving transportation, it's going to be driving manufacturing, and it's going to be driving electrification of developing economies. So countries like Nigeria and other developing countries will be needing a lot of energy and telecommunication infrastructures to meet their growing needs. So if anyone is trying to invest into this sector today, it is not going to be a regret tomorrow. So look into investing into the existing ones if you can. And if you cannot invest into the existing one, then you can begin to look into those that are, if you have any small business ideas that you can begin to generate, and who knows, you can also even get potential investors that will invest into your own business as well. Then the next thing that is driving the energy and telecommunication sector is the global digital transformation. So now we all know that there is an accelerating shift towards digital economy now. In the UK, US, even Nigeria, we are all driving towards digital economies. And this drive to digital economies will be requiring a massive telecommunication infrastructure investment. So if you are looking at me today and you are saying, okay, what can you really invest into? Like I've told us earlier, the surge in AI in this present time is a great potential, is a very, very great potential for investment in energy, renewable energy, and also cloud computing, and also data housing. So you need to continue to look at all of these because they require energy and telecommunication. Like I've said earlier, AI cannot work without power. AI cannot work without internet. So these two things can, in fact, the data house must not shut down. That's the truth. So if we all want to consider areas that we can quickly begin to strategize on as we progress into the coming year, telecommunication and energy is not going to be a bad idea. And like I've said earlier, if you don't have money to invest into it in large number, you can begin to invest into existing companies that are doing well in this area. Like I've told us earlier, we have telecommunication that infrastructures will be needed for cloud computing, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and remote working. So we all know how remote working is trending now. And all of these also require high-speed connectivity. If you want to do work from home, you have a job in Canada, you are doing it from Nigeria, you need high-speed connectivity. So someone needs to invest into this. And that is the reason why I am so much impressed with what Elon Musk did. And I'm not surprised that he's the richest man in the world because that investment in Starlink while he was investing in space and the likes, people don't know that he knows where he's going to. That single investment in Starlinks in Africa and the trend at which, the approach at which he's taking to scale up that investment, I'm double sure that he has taken a kind of a niche for himself. Then another thing that is driving the energy and telecommunication is the energy supply chain challenges. We all know presently now that the supply chain for energy is limited. And aside from the developed world, but the point is that despite the fact that the countries like UK, US have stable power supply, they still have their supply demand imbalance because they are not having outages like we have in other parts of the world, but definitely there is that imbalance because I could remember recently the UK government was coming up with a regulation that houses that will be coming up now should be incorporating solar panel into their building plans. So if you want to do a new build, you must integrate solar panel into it. That is just to reduce the burden on the other source like the hydro power sources and the likes so that we can embrace renewable energy. Then the last is technology innovation and AI influence. So artificial intelligence and machine learning are revolutionizing the sector. That's the telecommunication and the energy sector. So whatsoever you are thinking now, please don't think small. I know I have innovators in this class. I know I have entrepreneurs in this class, and I also have investors. So whichever category that you belong to, I want us to please take them seriously because you can innovate something around this and become a winner in the sector. What I've given you now is like a market data for free which you can now take home to strategize and see how you can come up with something around all of these. If you can come up with something to enhance your investment decision, fine. And if you can also come up with something to enhance your business startup initiative, that would also not be a bad idea. So as we have concluded today, I would be liking to close by saying let's begin to look at stocks like Shell, ExxonMobil, BP, and that is in the energy sector. And let's also look at Verizon, AT, and Vodafone in the telecommunication sector. Let's keep watching them and their progress. And I believe we would be able to scale up soon. From next week, we will be dwelling more on some other topics that would has to do with our personal development. So I will be coming up with personal business growth, as the case may be. As we invest in other companies, we also invest in ourselves, like I said last week. So please, I will be pushing out some form for you to fill. So if you have a business idea and you are looking for investment from the diaspora, you have the opportunity to fill those forms. So you can visit the Remit to Invest platform, or I will be sharing it with some of us on our different platforms. So, and if you are in the diaspora and you are looking for how you can invest in a growing business in Nigeria, Ghana, and Liberia, you can also take advantage of these. You will be connected to businesses that are investment ready. So, but there are some risks that I want us to quickly discuss before I close this class today. There are some risks involved in investment into telecommunication and that involves into telecommunication and energy sector. And the number one is market volatility. Like we've seen so for BT, Telecom Plus, and some other stocks that we checked today, we can see that the market is very volatile. We can see the wave. So the macro economy is the sector is highly influenced by the macro economy. Take, for example, there was a time in the UK when during the early Brexit, there was a time that there was a scarcity of fuels and the likes, and that was as a result of just truck drivers, that there was shortage of truck drivers to move the trucks from the depot to the filling stations, and that led to increase in price. And we also noticed what happened in Nigeria most times, especially during the festive period, that we will be experiencing fuel shortage. So all of these little things causes a lot of volatility in the industry, and that can be a very big risk for those that are into short-term trading. However, if you are into long-term trading, that you want to buy these shares now and just put it for future growth, then you may not need to be fearful. Then the next thing that you need to be considering as a risk factor in energy and telecommunication is policy and regulatory changes. The government policy changes often, and the policy could is one of the sector that the government looks into, because they determine a lot of macroeconomic indices. So it's not like a microeconomic indices that the government may not want to look out to majorly. So energy, in fact, I remember then when in Nigeria, when we had a new president, that was there during the regime of President Buhari. He had to be the minister for petroleum, as we all know. So that is for you to know how important that the government put on fossil fuel development and the like. So there are a lot of regulation around it. Before you can start it, you need to get a lot of licenses and the likes and the likes. So all of these as well limits and bring some level of risk, because if your license is revoked for any reason, the investors, we had shares in those companies, we are at risk. Economic slowdown risk. There is also some possibility of economic slowdown risk. And then finally, commodity price shock. And that could be by regulatory authorities. Like we know OPEC and some other global companies determine the prices of fuel. So take, for example, in Nigeria, the global prices of fuel sometimes determine the value of our currency, because Nigeria is highly dependent on oil income. But now things are changing. So if anything happen in the global market and there is a shock in the price of the fossil fuel or the likes, or there is a natural disaster, there could be a very serious price swing. There could be a very serious price swing. So that is that about the risk in this sector. And for today, that would be what we will be sharing with us in the energy sector and the energy and telecommunication sector. So at this time is for us to have a question and answer. If there are anything that is not clear for us, I would like us to quickly unmute or raise our hand to ask. Or if you want to put more contribution to what we've been saying, this is an opportunity for you to contribute as well. For those of us joining on the Instagram, I will be ending the session now. Thank you for joining. And for those on the Zoom, you can now ask questions. Thank you very much. Any question? So, in the absence of any question, I will quickly give us some update as regards. Now, let me quickly ask for some of us that has the bamboo investment. How is the market doing now? Who is going to volunteer? Mrs. Naomi, Miss Naomi, or Ms. Adiola? Miss Funke, did you have? Is the market still coming down or now going up? Okay. So at this point, I would like to say a big thank you to everyone for joining the session today. And then we'll be having another time next week. And then possibly after next week, we will be switching into the people that are having businesses that require diaspora investment. So we may not be doing stock market anymore, but you will be receiving messages to listen to people that wants to pitch their businesses if we have one. And then next week, I will be bringing a professional into us as well to talk to us as regards cost cutting around energy and the likes, especially for those in the UK. So some of us can also join. You will receive a notification to that effect. I want to say a big thank you to you all for joining the session today, and I want to wish us a productive week ahead. Thank you all, and God bless.